Hello class, this is Mr. Harmathy, and I'm going to introduce you to a new program called GIMP. So what we're going to do in this program is we're going to take this picture here, and we're going to take this picture here, and we're going to combine them. And we're also going to make this picture here and delete some of this stuff here. So I'm deciding to do this myself instead of directing you to a tutorial because the tutorial is not very good. And I know you guys better, so it's going to work better this way. All right, so you see the whole screen. So what we're going to do is open GIMP, which is right here. And if you're wondering what GIMP stands for, GIMP has been around for 24 years. It's a open platform. What do you call it? Whatever. It's an open platform. A lot of people work on it, so they try to make it better. It's the best program, actually, that rivals Photoshop, and it's totally free, and it's being improved every year. All right, so GIMP actually stands for, let's see, for GNU Image Manipulation Program. GNU is just a word that means, it's another word for wildebeest, which is an African type of buffalo or bison. And in case you want to know. So it is a GNU Image Manipulation Program. That's where GIMP comes from. So this is what the program looks like. And it's a lot like Photoshop, but there's a couple of things that are different. The toolbar is kind of horizontal like this. The color picker is here, and you could switch it around, foreground, background. And each one of these tools has an option bar. Remember, there used to be an option bar up here for Photoshop? Well, now the option bar is right here. So everything you could do with that tool is shown here, down here in this little box here. It also, what's really cool, has got layers. And I'll talk to you later about how to set up a new picture, but we're going to import pictures. So the layers is actually locked in with probably the channels and the paths. So what I did is that I just removed it and I detached and I dragged it over here. So that's where the layers is going to be. So what you're going to do is you're going to download these two files, this one and this one. And the first thing you're going to do is drag this picture onto the GNU program. Let me see where it is. Like this. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see the layers palette is right there. If you look carefully at the very top, you notice it's in sRGB. It's 3000 by 2002 resolution, so it's quite good. And it tells you that's GIMP. Now, it also has a little thing here at the top which shows you which pictures are open. So thumbnail, viewer, or whatever. So what we're going to do is that we're going to select this woman out from the background. It's a little bit different from Photoshop, so just bear with me. And you'll be very comfortable with this program in no time. So we're doing like review stuff. So what we're doing is a combination of quick selection and also hair extraction type of tool. But there's this one tool that does it all. Okay, so first of all, if you can't find the tool you're looking for, you could click on the tools here. See the mouse is moving. Click and hold it, and it'll show you the different kind of selections that you have. What we want to do is get the foreground select. So rather than go here, because you might not find it in the toolbar, you could go to Tools here, the menu, and it's divided into three areas: Selection Tools, Paint Tools, Transform Tools. I find that it's a lot easier than Photoshop, actually. So we're going to go to Tools and Selection Tools, and we're going to choose, where is it? Foreground Select tool. So release that, and suddenly you have a little cursor that looks like a lasso. But what's really cool is that it's not only a lasso, but it's also a polygonal lasso at the same time. Now, this picture of a woman, I know it's a little bit risque, but that's what they gave me on the internet, and you know what's on the internet. So anyway, So we're going to start here at the leg. And what you could do, you're going to go outside of the figure. And you're going to go outside of the figure like this. If you let go and you start clicking, then it becomes a polygonal lasso tool. But I'm going to stop clicking and I'm going to use it as a regular lasso. So I'm going to go around the hair. Oops. If you don't like what you did, you could backspace and it'll backspace to the last click that you had. So I'll just backspace like this, like this. So watch carefully what I do. I'm actually using it as a polygonal lasso, and then I'm switching back to regular lasso. And then I'm going in here. And like that, like that. Now I'm choosing it as a regular lasso, clicking and holding. Now I'm going underneath the picture. I'm going like this and going up, and I'm joining it with the other one. And you notice that it turns kind of yellow dot. So it's all selected. So we selected around the woman, and it's going to select out the hair, which is pretty cool. Now, you can use the Control Z key, but I caution you against doing that. Don't do it yet. To be able to zoom in, you can't go Control plus. It just won't work. To be able to zoom in, you have to hold the Control key, and then you use the little wheel on the mouse to move in, and the wheel on the mouse to move out. Now, if you move in a lot, you can let go of the Control key, and you can hold the space bar and move it around like the hand tool in Photoshop. Except it's not as convenient as the hand tool, but it's similar in function as Photoshop. So I'm going to zoom out now, and I'm going to use the hand tool and just move it up. Zoom out a little more. Okay, so we have that. And you notice that over here on the left, you have different functions for the foreground select. So this is like the option bar equivalent. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit, look carefully what happens to the cursor. Remember, the cursor is right now, it looks like a lasso tool. You hit the enter key, and it suddenly moves you into this mode here, which is very similar to the quick select tool. And it gives you a round kind of brush. And I'll tell you how this works. It's actually pretty easy. It's pretty interesting. Notice here too, you got the foreground select. Do not touch that yet. Okay, just hang in there. You could also change the brush size, the same thing as Photoshop, by hitting the right hand bracket tool. So click on as much as you can here. Okay. You see how it's kind of selecting some of the woman and it's bringing forward. You could change the color of your mask. If you go here on the left hand side and you click this here, the blue, you could change it to, let's say, yellow and go okay. Then your mask will be yellow, but I prefer blue actually, or even red. You could change the mask to red, but blue actually makes it easier to view. So I'm going to change it to blue again. So what you do is I'm going to use a large brush for the quick select. Now, do not go outside of her because it makes it a little more complicated. Now, what's really cool about the quick select, you don't actually see it work like a quick select until you click the preview mask at the top here where it says foreground select, okay? Preview mask. It actually, there's an algorithm that computes the area of selection, you see? It's pretty cool. So I'm just going over again. The algorithm is selecting the hair. Now, if you continue to click on it, you could actually click on more of the woman, and you can see where your mask is lacking. See, it's computing it. Now, what you can do too, let me just get this area here under her neck. And I think this area here around her eyes is needs to be masked as well. What you can do is that you can reduce the size of your brush by hitting the left hand bracket tool, and you could click part of the hair here. Make sure you don't select the blue parts. So it's kind of like, now it's computing the pixels. Now notice that there's some blue hair over here, so I'm just clicking that area there. I'm clicking this area here. I'm trying to get as much as of the blue out of the image as possible. So remember, I have the foreground select, the preview mask, so it operates a lot like our quick select tool. So it's pretty cool. Someone actually computed this and put this program in it. But of course, Photoshop will not reveal how they do the quick select tool, or reveal the algorithm. So here I'm taking out all the blue. Now, let's say you, and I won't do this here. I'm just doing her chest here. Let's say you go outside of the border. What you do is you go to the left, and you see where it says draw mode is draw foreground and draw background. You click on the draw background, you remove parts that you overdrew with the foreground. Okay, but otherwise I'm going to say stay on the draw foreground image, and I'm going to click the arm. It still needs a little refining, and click the leg here, a little refining. Okay, so I think I've got it all. I'm just going to click the pants here. I think I've got it all. So what you do after you've quick selected all this with the hair, and it's pretty cool, is that you hit the enter key. Okay, and then it selects the whole area. Now, if you want to undo some selections that don't work here, like maybe there's a little scintillating part here, or a marching ant on her pants, what you can do if you want to, you could go up here at the toolbar, and you see you choose the foreground select tool, you click and hold, you have the free select. Now the free select tool brings in this option bar here, and the option bar, you have 4 different modes. You have replace the current selection, which you don't do, add to the current selection, which you do. So click on that, and what I'm doing is that I'm going to go around the part of the marching ant that's in the hair to remove it. And let me just zoom in here. Control, wheel, and I'm going to go inside this area here. Oh, maybe it doesn't work. Okay, well, I tried my best, so... Okay, I'm just going to pause this to figure out what's going on here. Oh yeah, what I do, sorry, I selected it and I have to hit enter. And I have to close off the box. Oh my goodness. Okay. I have to hit enter, then I have to go around again. Double click to Control Z. Close off the box. Hit enter. I'm going to pause it again. You know, the mistake I did is that I didn't hit this third one, which is subtract from the current selection. So that must be it. So I'm doing this. I hit the enter key. It doesn't work. So that's what you do. You add to the current selection. It just shows it like that. Okay, that's the thing. So I'm doing it again here, up here. Okay, hit enter, and then I'm going to do it up here where our hair is. I'm going to hit enter to remove it. So that's basically what it does. I don't know why when I hit enter it kind of removed everything, but I'm hitting enter again, and it kind of removes it. Okay, so I got the selection pretty well the way I want it. I go up like that. So the next thing I want to do, I want to separate this from the background. So what I have to do is actually create a new layer. Now remember, we had to unlock the background layer. It's a little different here. So create a new layer. If you look at the layer palette at the very bottom, and there's the very first one says create a new layer. So create a new layer like this, and you go OK. What it's going to do is create a checkerboard, but it may not create a checkerboard, so I'm going to go Control Z to undo it. Because to unlock it, you have to right click on this, and you have to do add alpha channel. It adds transparency information to the layer. So do this, add alpha channel. It's another way of doing unlock layer. Okay. So now when you add a layer, and you just go OK. It says fill with transparency anyway. Then it's going to be transparent. So in other words, you could do add the alpha channel, or you could click on the new layer, it brings up a new layer box, and you could just choose transparency, foreground color, background color. I'm going to choose transparency, and it chooses a blank layer. Okay. Now there's no way of changing the size of the layers. So, by the way, you could switch the order of the layers by just dragging them up and down. And it has also the little eyeball next to it. You could remove the visibility and put the visibility back. Now you notice that I didn't do a good enough selection, didn't select the hair back there, but also I have a little bit of the eyebrow which has to be fixed. So let me just zoom in on that. So I'm going to add to selection here. I'm going to go around the selection. I'm going to do that, enter, and there we go. Okay. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is, okay, hang on a second. I got to remember this. Okay, I'm going to invert the selection. So instead of selecting the woman, I'm going to select everything outside of her. So I think you do Control I. No, you don't. You go to Select Menu, and you go to Invert. Okay, so what that does is that selects everything outside of the woman. Now, the other thing you could do is do Control I. It'll do the same thing, I think, to invert. I guess. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. All right. So Control I will invert the selection. Yes, it does. You see the background is yellow, which means a woman is selected, the outside square. And then if you do Control I, then it's all white. It means the outside is selected. All right. So Control I, or you could go to Select Menu and invert, like Photoshop. Now what we want to do is we want to hit Delete, and Delete is going to remove all the background. The checkerboard is a little grayer than Photoshop, but I guess we just have to get used to that. So what we're going to do next is that we're going to drag and drop the road image onto this. So just drag it on. The only difference is that it doesn't create a smart object, it just puts it over there, okay? So what I did is that I dragged the image on, I created its own layer, so I could delete this layer, which means that I just click the X and deletes the layer. So I have road and I have the woman. So if I click on the woman, I click on the road, and to remove the marching ants, it isn't Control D, it's something a little different. It is, the shortcut is, come on, remember, is Shift Control A. So Shift Control A as in apple. It removes the marching ants. So I clicked on the woman layer, and I did Shift Control A, and it removed the marching ants. So what I want to do is that I want to change the order of the layers. So put the woman on top and the background underneath. Now the problem with this is that with Photoshop is Control T. Okay, you can't do that because I think there's a copyright issue with this program, and it can't imitate everything that Photoshop does. So it isn't that bad what you have to do. So what we're doing here is that we go to Image, Menu, and we go down here to where it says Canvas Size. No, we don't. We go to Scale Image. All right. So we go to Image Menu, we go to Scale Image. All right. Actually, we're not going to do that right now. So we're going to cancel this. There's a faster way of doing that. Instead of Control T, you do Shift T. But I want to make sure that I click in the proper layer where the landscape is. So instead of Control T, we do Shift T. Now you click the outside box, not the inside box, because if you click the inside box, it's going to distort it like this. So let's just do Control Z to undo that. You click the outside box and you can enlarge the landscape to fit. And here, enlarge landscape to fit. And I hit the Enter key and it applies it. And there you got the woman and the background. Okay, pretty easy. So what I want you guys to do is to submit this image. So what you do is you go to File. I know it's a little bit different. Export as, File, Export as. You'll get used to it. I'm getting used to it right now. I'm going to save it on the desktop. And the name, you could change it. I'm just going to do it as A space beautiful. I'm going to export. It's going to say what do I want to export it as. Save defaults here. I've already exported something with the JPEG. So save defaults here. If you click on that, it's going to, hang on a second. No, you don't do save defaults. You go to advanced options. No, you don't go to advanced options. Hang on a second. Okay, remember I said save as JPEG. I'm just going to cancel this and go back to here. And I'm going to cancel this too. So you go to File. I'm just going back. File. Where's export? Export as. Now down here it says select file type by extension. Okay. So this, if you click this little plus sign here, it tells you the different file types. So I don't know what is defaulted as, but probably the file that is linked to this program. So you choose JPEG. I think it's alphabetically here. It should be. JPEG image. So I chose JPEG image. Okay, remember I selected file type here. JPEG image. It darkens. I go to export. The file name beautiful already exists. You want to replace it. File exists in desktop. That's because I kind of know. I'm going to change the name of it. I'm going to go to A beautiful again. A space beautiful. JPEG image. Export. All right, so you can change the quality by just scrolling this bar down, but I think putting it at 90 is okay. It's pretty good quality there. And you just click export. And it exports the image. So let's take a look at my desktop, and I have the image here. So it's A, saved. There you go. So next thing we're going to do is pretty cool as well. So we're going to click on this. We're going to create a new layer. It's going to be a transparent layer, and it's going to be underneath the woman. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go to Tools. This is going to be the second project that you have to submit. Tools, Paint Tools, and in the Paint Tools there's a gradient. Now I know the gradient is over here on the left, but for the meantime I want you guys to get used to finding it here in the Tools menu. So Paint Tools, Gradient. Now here's the option bar or the option palette here. It's a little different. And you could choose the gradient, click on it. You could do custom gradient, abstract, just click on this little thing here. Blinds, oh, I don't know what that is, blue-green. I'm going to choose a really cool gradient, which is going to be this abstract too. So what you do is that make sure you're on that layer, that blank transparent layer that you did, and click from top left to bottom right. And you could get a gradient like this. Now what's really cool and different from Photoshop is that you have these squares representing the different areas of the gradient. So this is like the violet red, and you can move it here to the right, and you can move this to the bottom right. So you could change your gradient style any way you want. Okay, that's really cool about it. Okay. So if you save this one, File, Export, Export As, it's already set to JPEG, I believe. We're going to change the name to Be Beautiful. And export. This other window is going to open. I'm going to go to, and it's going to save it on desktop, export. And if we see it here, it's now going to show this image. Okay, So post that as well. Now there's another thing that we're going to do is we're going to move the road thing up to the middle between the woman and the layer. So what we're going to do in this one is pretty cool, is that we're going to go to Tools, Paint Tools, and is it Transform Tools? Paint Tools. 1 second. Okay, I know what to do. So you don't go to Tools menu. You go to Colors menu, which is right next to it. So the Colors menu shows that you could go to Hue Saturation. Remember, Hue Saturation in Photoshop is Control U. So here we're going to do Hue Saturation. We're going to click that. It's going to bring up a box, and in it there's some scroll bars that you could change the hue, you could change the lightness, saturation. So what I'm going to do, first of all, the hue is at 0, so I'm going to drag the hue up. So you see how it changes the color value? So I'm going to just put this back to 0. Let's just click on it. Oh, whatever. I'm just going to drag it down and bring it back to 0. Okay. You could change the lightness or the brightness, so the lightness or the darkness. Okay. So I'm going to bring that back to 0 as well. Well, it's close enough, but why don't I click into here and make it, oh, well, I can't. Okay, if you guys could figure out there, 0. Oh, actually, I could use the scroll left and right, and I could backspace on it, and I could put in 0, and there we go. Now, the saturation is the interesting thing, because you know that when we bring the saturation down, it makes it black and white. So that's really cool. Let's just go OK. So we got the woman in color and the picture in black and white. So we're going to export that one. File. Export as. We're going to, instead of B, we're going to make it C. Export. And I've already set it to export onto desktop. I'll go export. And exports as a JPEG. So here's the black and white version. There we go. So you could export and it gives me that. The other cool thing is that we could change the layer blending mode. Let me show you how that works. So if I click on the layer with the black and white landscape, if I go to the mode area here in the layer palette, it's set at normal. If we set it to overlay, we get kind of an overlay with the underground image, and you can change the opacity to anything you want by just dragging it down. Okay. Or you could move the color layer on top, and you could drag down the opacity there. And you could get this kind of image. The other thing we could do, so you could save that. So look at my layer palette. You have the woman layer, you have the color rainbow layer, and the black and white road. You could do that, or you could do even something more complicated. Let me put the opacity back to 100. Well, it's not more complicated, but it's different. So you can move the road back to the middle layer and the rainbow on the bottom. Instead of overlay mode, I'm going to choose hard light, and hard light gives me that. I'm going to choose soft light, and soft light gives me this view. No, I think hard light is probably better. So anyway, you could use different layer blending modes, or you could do it manually like I showed you there. Okay. So if you want to change, save this or save the other one that I mentioned, so do that. This is the combination of the black and white and the rainbow one. So file, export as. We're going to save it as D. Space. Export. Export. So you're going to notice that there's this image that's been exported. Okay. We also exported that one. We exported that one. And we exported that one. So you have that one to do, that one to give in, that one to give in, and that one to give in. So 4. All right, we're going to do one more. Oh no, I think that's about it. So, hang on a second. I forgot to mention too that you could save it as the equivalent of a Photoshop file with all the layers if you want to go back and work on it again. So the way you do that is you go to File, Save As. I'm going to save it. It's called the XCF file, which is like a PSD file, except instead of calling it D, I'm going to call it, I don't know, Z, because I don't want you to submit this, but I just want to show you that you can save this. I'm going to save it on the desktop. Save. Okay. So it's actually on my desktop, I believe. It's saved as a CDE. No, it isn't on my desktop. It's somewhere else. Oh, darn it. Okay, let me just go File. Oh, okay. Save as. And I'm going to save in folder. Oh, it's in my documents folder. That's why it's not working. So I'm going to click here and it's going to show me a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to save it on desktop. And there we go. Desktop, Z, save. Okay. So right here it shows a little picture of the GIMP animal or whatever. It does not look like a buffalo, but it's like a layered Photoshop file. So in other words, if I go to GIMP and I close this file, so I could close it by just going up here at the thumbnail preview and I click on that, then it's closed. If I take the GIMP file here and I drag it onto there, it's going to reload it with all the layers. So anyway, so I'm going to close it right now. So what I'd like you to do is to, you're going to submit this image, submit this image, submit this image, and submit this image. And what you're going to do too is you're going to make your own project, but you don't have to submit all these. You could just combine two images, okay? So the way you do that is actually pretty easy. And I'd like you to do a snapshot of this because I want to see your layers, a snapshot file. So I'm not going to explain how to do snapshot file. Figure it out. It's probably easy. Why don't I do a snapshot file for you guys? So let's just open the GIMP file here. Let me figure out how to do snapshots. So snapshot is that you hit the print screen option. You go to File, New. Let's see what the advanced option tells me. I have no idea. Hang on a second. Okay, I know how to do a snapshot file now. So what I want you to do is to just move the layers over here. Actually, I'm going to move the layers into the picture itself. Actually, I'm going to do it to the right. So I'm going to hit print screen. Then I'll go to File, New. It gives me 3000 by 2002 at 300 pixels per inch. You don't have to have it at 300 pixels per inch. You could actually, let's go to Advanced Options. And you see where it says, okay, 8-bit RGB color and pixels per inch. Hang on a second. So pixels per inch, you want it to be 72. That way it'll be a lot smaller in size. So it's linked together. So the moment I put 72 in, it'll do it. So just go OK. And then I go Control V to paste. And we got the image there. Then I go up at the toolbar and I choose the crop tool, which looks just like the Photoshop crop tool. And I crop a little part of it with the, see what I'm doing here? Little part with the layers palette. And then I hit enter. And there you go. And you could go to File, Export. And you got your crop, you got it cropped. File, Export. Oh, by the way, if you want to zoom in, you just hold Control and you do the scroll bar. Space bar brings it down to the center again. So there we go. So what I have here is I have the snapshot of the layers with the picture. So I want you to do your own project. Just submit one with the snapshot file, and I'll tell you where you could actually find the pictures, which is really cool. I'll give you tomorrow the name of the other place I found where you could get free pictures. So if you go to Google and you type in Pixabay, pixabay.com, they're trying to sell you some pictures here at the top, I think. But if you search something like this, woman, images, enter key, and then it goes through stuff like that. If you want to be more specific, woman standing, hair flying, for instance. Couldn't find it. Okay, a woman standing there. Let's just do that. So it is kind of, whoa, it is kind of limited here, but you get some pretty good pictures. So let's say we want to take this one here, hiker, standing woman. We click on it, the free download. If you click on it, you could choose the one that's default, and you could download it. And it'll actually ask you something, and you just go, I'm not a robot, and then you go, okay, and then you can save it. So it's a pretty good resolution, but if you want to save a larger resolution, which is really what you should be working with, and download it, I'm able to do it because I joined Pixabay. So to join Pixabay, you just join it, and you make sure that you remember your username and your password. And the other thing too is that you have to contribute by giving in a photo 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that you took, high resolution, and then you're in. You could download as many free images as you want. Okay, that's it. So we have those A, B, C, D, E pictures you want to submit. This one, no, yeah, this one, and this one. And then you want to do your own, and you could select it from Pixabay. Okay, that's it. So a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects. So I hope to see them pretty soon, and thank you very much. Bye.